So it's always interesting to see a recording studio when it's done and everything's tidy, and you don't realize how much work goes into building these places. And what I came across is some old pictures of Angel Mountain when we put that facility together at 18,000 square feet on 8 acres. And it was something like $10 million. I mean, it was a huge expense to do this. But I thought I'd go through the pictures and you just can see the background and make some commentary. So this first picture is just the concrete work that's going on. So nothing very special there. The second picture, more concrete. So a lot of concrete for the floors. Third picture, that's the trough that went through the whole building, so all the wires could get any place you wanted them to get to. And you can see they're pretty deep and they're all interconnected. And I said this in another video where the troughing system, the construction guys put it together and they didn't connect it. And they wanted to know if that was a problem. And we had to tell them, no, you got to take it apart and put it back together. And they weren't happy about that, but because it makes no sense. So they got that happening, but that's a troughing. There's a long shot of the inside of the building that actually turned into lobby and some video suites. Now this picture, it doesn't look like much, but you see those little holes. This is the floor for the live room. Those little holes went to like a little mechanism underneath the floor, so you could raise the floor. So the whole floor is floating. And I think there was something like 100 of these in the whole floor, or even more. So you can go with this wrench, put it through the hole, and crank it up or down to make the floor float. But once you adjusted it, you didn't have to do anything to it anymore. So this picture, what's interesting about that, these were the air conditioning units that were on the ceiling of the building. And you can see the springs. They had all these springs holding the metal mechanism, holding up the air conditioning system up there. So no vibrations coming into the building at all. That's a pretty big deal doing that. And there's a close-up shot of the spring that was being used. And there's another shot, you can see the spring being used. So there's the stairs that was in the theater, just the concrete work. But like I said, a huge amount of concrete. And that's, the concrete gets very expensive very quickly. Now here, this is the live room floor, and you can see the rebar, but you can see the mechanisms that were used to lift the floor to make sure it was floating. And you see the round, they look like pucks on the bottom, and they have a tube coming up. And up on the top of that tube was a hole that you could put the ratchet or whatever tool you're using to adjust it. But this is the kind of stuff you never see. And this is the kind of stuff that makes all the difference in the world when you get to the final product. Here's another picture of the troughing system. And the troughing system in this place was a heavy-duty troughing system. And, a lot of studios, they don't really think it out completely. But if you're going to do it right, this is what you do. There's another long shot. Like I said, these turned into part of the lobby and the video suite. And we actually had an apartment in there for people to stay. This was the machine room. And you can see that the floor went down. So when we put the racks of all the gear, it could run all the cabling underneath there, and then it was connected to the troughing to go other places. But you had to kind of think of all these things ahead of time. That's kind of the key of hiring a good studio designer. So they know where things are going, and you know it all ahead of time. Let's see, the next picture. That's the outside of the building. That was the right-hand side. That was lobby and video suites, and that to the left-hand side was pro audio and conference rooms, and then the back of the building was all the studios. That was the lobby. This picture is the lobby, and those three holes up on the top, there was you went up the stairs, and that was where the projectors were all. and it would shoot to the room behind it. That's where we had the big Harrison console for for doing the post work, and that was the last picture. So that was it. But one interesting thing about that production room, they finished off the room, and then they had to bring the screen in, and they didn't think ahead of time of how they were going to get that screen into that room. So they actually had to cut a hole in the wall to get the screen to go in, because it was all one big long piece, and then they had to patch it up. So this is as good a designers as you get. Sometimes people miss things, and sometimes it's not the designer's fault, it's the construction crew, and sometimes it's nobody's fault. It just nobody figured that part out. So that's how that happened. So I thought you'd find these interesting, and all the work that goes into the studio before it's really a studio.